Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we have another episode in our Spoiler Spotlight series in which I talk about, well, spoilers and tell you what my thoughts are on them. But before that, just a quick reminder to click subscribe if you enjoy my videos. We're well on our way to 1 million subscribers and your support means everything to me. And today we're going to be talking about Shifting Grift. For 2 blue, it's a sorcery with spree, choose 1 or more additional costs, and +2 exchange control of 2 target creatures, +1 exchange control of 2 target artifacts, or +1 exchange control of 2 target enchantments. So this showcases off a new mechanic from the set, which is spree, and spree looks very interesting to me. It seems like a mix between something like escalate and kicker, and of course there's the obvious running joke that everything is just a variant of kicker, which kinda is true. This one certainly does look a lot like kicker, but it has some subtle differences as well with something like escalate and multi-kicker, which I think are worth discussing. So for starters, you're going to have to choose one of the modes. There's no way to cast this card for just 2 blue. You definitely need 1 additional cost, which is an interesting thing when you compare it to other mechanics like this in the past. That means that this is at least going to cost 3 mana, and when it does, you're going to get to either exchange 2 target artifacts or 2 target enchantments. If you paid another extra mana, you'd get to exchange 2 target enchantments and 2 target artifacts, and if you paid an extra 2, you'd be able to exchange 2 target creatures as well. Now that would cost 6 mana if you did all of the modes, but of course there's the nice flexibility of being able to choose which ones you want to do and sinking more or less mana into it depending on what you need. That means the mechanic is pretty nice, particularly from a designer perspective, because normally you're going to be limited when you design a card with escalate, for example, seeing as the cost is always the same. So that means that most of the modes need to be fairly similar. With an ability like spree, you can kind of have different varying power level effects which can cost different amounts of mana. I think it's fair to assume we'll see some with different colors as the main spell, which I think is very interesting as well. This all really gives it a very build your own spell kind of effect, which I think is very cool, and it will be very interesting to see how they explore the design space for this and what kind of nice flexible spells we get out of it, particularly if we get some at instant speed, which I'm sure we will get at higher rarities. As for this card itself, it's really sweet in certain commander decks. For example, in Zedru the Great-Hearted, this is going to be great because you're going to get to exchange stuff, which is obviously something that deck is very interested in, and for 6 mana you can get to exchange 3 things, which is a great rate. Outside of that deck though, it's still pretty solid. If you have a deck focused on treasures or artifact tokens such as food and things like that, being able to exchange your food for something like even a soul ring is already amazing, and that would be at 3 mana. But of course you can snag even better artifacts later on in the game. People do often play pretty powerful artifacts, and so it's very nice to be able to exchange them. It also seems to me like it's going to work very well in any deck that is making token enchantments, such as a deck that's playing cards with the roll ability, because again you can give them a roll which isn't really going to affect anything at all, seeing as it's already enchanting a permanent, and then you get to take one of their best enchantments, and enchantments are very impactful in Commander, and particularly since blue has very little ways of dealing with them. So exchanging control of auras for real enchantments seems like a really great use for this as well. And then of course you've got the other mode, which is the easiest one to use, which is giving them your weak creature in exchange for their powerful creature, and at 4 mana that's a pretty good rate, particularly bearing in mind that the exchange effect doesn't have a time limit or duration, it is just permanent. So all of this considered, I think this card is very flexible and nice, and it's going to work very well in certain commanders, but it's also just in general a powerful effect that we haven't seen that much of. And the fact that you can cast it for 3 mana, 4 mana, 5 mana, or 6 mana means that you have lots of different points in the game where this can be very good. So there you have it. Those have been my thoughts on this new spoiler. What do you think about this card? Please let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel. And until next time, take care.